Okay, day 460. Today, we are adding to our comparable sales list of three-bedroom properties in this market. And let me show you what we've done, right? We've been looking at properties that have been sold in the Birmingham, Alabama market for the past 12 months. And then we also started adding properties that were sold in just the last 3 months. And now we're tracking properties as they come onto the market. Now, the reason we're tracking properties as they come onto the market is because, well, what's happening to the purchase price as more and more properties come on the market and as interest rates continue to fluctuate? Okay, so today we found this property. We are filtered on three-bedroom plus properties. Homes are single family homes and on Redfin for less than 3 days. And this property came up on 841 79th Street. Just came to market 6 hours ago in 35206. And this property, let's see what neighborhood. This property is in Southeast Lake. Let me write that one down. Southeast Lake. So as we note these properties down, what we want to do is Southeast Lake. Southeast Lake. Great. As you can see, there was another home listed a while ago that was being listed for $85 a square foot. This property is being listed for $130 a square foot. Wow, crazy, right? Like almost big difference in terms of the pricing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add this property to our list, and then we're gonna figure out why is this property being listed for such a higher per dollar per square foot, even though it's in other similar market. Was this property sold yet? Let's see. This property still not sold yet. So is this property gonna get $100 per square foot? I'm gonna bet my money. I don't want to say bad, but this is unlikely, right? Especially if this property is really close, but that other home is a four-bedroom, so maybe that's more appealing. And it's a larger home, if I'm correctly. All right, it's just this property, slightly larger home. So hey, who knows? But let's at least go through the condition of this home. This home is pretty good. I mean, no carpeting here. Doesn't look like they need any. Looks like no paint work needs to be done. Yeah, this kitchen looks great. Bathroom could be a little bit more modern, but for the most part, no paint, no flooring work, nothing of that needed. So let me write these comp. Above average kitchen, renovated with recessed lighting. Average bathroom could be more modernized, but is rent ready as is. And then no painting or floor work needed. Wood floors may need refinishing. Cannot tell from photos. Okay, great. So now I understand the condition of this home, right? It's a three bed, 1.5 bath, and it's 12,228 square feet. This property was built in 1954. And obviously I'm writing down the details because you want to be pretty accurate with the type of comp that you're using for these properties. And I mean, what would be the ideal comp, right? The ideal comp for this property is if you were able to see this property and you say, hey, is what did the home directly next to it sell for, assuming they had the same finishes, same year bill, same lot size, everything. But obviously, as you go further and further and further away, you go across natural borders such as this mountain or man-made borders such as the highways, you're in completely different areas. So you're gonna have to figure out and understand, hey, what's really going on here? And more importantly, if you are pursuing the BRRRR strategy, right, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat, that strategy is heavily dependent on the ARV, the after repair value. And here's why. Let's use an example. If you were able to buy a home for $10,000 and you spend 60,000, 60, to renovate the property, so you're all in at $70,000. Now all of a sudden, maybe you might have made a home worth 100 grand, and you can go get a debt service coverage ratio loan for 70% of the home's value. That allows you to take out $70,000 in the form of loan proceeds, which remunerates you and gets you back the initial $70,000 that you originally invested between the 10 grand that you spent to buy the property and the 60 grand that you used to renovate the home. So you can take that same 70 grand and rinse and repeat it over and over again. That's why the strategy is so scalable. Now, what's the alternative? Alternative is if you save all your money from your full-time job, put it towards a 20% down payment, and then you realize, okay, what am I doing here? Saving up over and over again, but it takes such a long time. That's why the BRRRR strategy is so scalable. But again, it all depends on your ARV because if your ARV doesn't achieve that 100 grand you're talking about, now you're leaving money in the deal. Now you have to go save up money again over and over. Right? That's the whole point of the perfect BRRRR. You get back out all your capital. So essentially you don't leave any money in the deal, quote unquote, right? So that's the problem. If you ever get an appraisal that doesn't give you the value that you're looking for, what are you going to use to challenge that appraisal? That's why we're building out this list, right? Obviously, we get the same details, right? Bed, bath, square foot, year built, sold price, lot size, when it was sold, the lot size, the garage, when it has a garage, carport, a basement, HOA, what subdivision or neighborhood it's in, and the general conditions of the home. So all these things matter tremendously. Okay, now for this property, 12281119. This property's square footage on the lot says 8276. 8276. No garage, no basement, no HOA. So now I know if I ever see a 3-bedroom home in this area, what can I expect to be able to get it for an ARV? And that's why I'm tracking this property because I want to know what it sells for, when it sells, assuming it sells. Okay, let's underwrite this deal as is because I know 160 grand is not going to be a deal. And here's why, right? I've been looking at the properties for the past 460 days, right? I kind of know exactly what price points will make it work and what price points will make it not work. Now, on this property, again, we don't need to do much rehab here. So on our property, I'll probably just replace the 2 of the toilets with a high pressure flush toilet. That's all I'm doing. I don't need to repaint the home because it looks great. Maybe I'll assume I need to refinish some of the flooring for about half the square footage, so equals 1228 divided by 2, and I could be overestimating, right? I might not even need that. But I'm gonna leave that as, so just so I can have a little bit of hedge. I got $500 for some landscaping, and then I got $1,500 for the roof, just in case there's any issues with the roof. That gives me a total rehab about $6,500, which isn't much at all, right? And now, if I want to go get my rents, I'm gonna go to affordablehousing.com. I'm gonna go to the owner section, the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in bank account, and I can see that on average, the rent for 25 units that are 3 bedrooms within a 0.8 mile radius is 1175. So I'll use 1175 here for my rent assumptions. If I go to the property and I go to the property tax estimate, it's a 150 right here. I'm gonna put in 150. And then my home insurance estimate is 124. So I'll do equals 124. And I'm going to multiply by 1.2 because I'm adding a 20% premium, hence the 0.2. And I'm assuming that if I turn this as a investment property, the insurance estimate is going to be higher because an investment property is generally viewed as a higher risk asset, right, by insurance companies. That's why I'm adding a 20% premium. I want to be a little bit more conservative. Then I'm setting aside 10% of my rent every single month for maintenance, right? These are items that I know I have to replace at some point, such as including, I knew for a fact that, hey, at some point I'm going to need to replace a roof, right? At one of our homes, we got a bill for a roof replacement for $15,000 just 2 years into our deal. I mean, if you get it for 100 months from now, I mean, if you didn't set aside $150 for that property for 100 months, then you would have been grossly overestimating your profitability because you're underestimating your expenses. I've made that mistake in the past. Don't be like me. Learn from that mistake. Set that money aside now because otherwise you would be the person that's overestimating their profitability because you underestimate expenses. Don't do that. And don't trust anyone that tells you there's no maintenance. Because before you know it, there might be some things that pop up a lot sooner, a lot faster than you expect. All right. Then I got 10% set aside for my property management, 10% of my rents. and 5% for vacancy because I know their home's gonna be empty at some point, no matter what. Someone's gonna always move out. Just a matter of time. So on this property, if I do a 25% down in F19, I will be using B4, my asking price, times my down payment percentage to calculate that my down payment is 40 grand. So my financing amount is going to be equals to my B4, my asking price, minus my down payment of $40,000 in E19. So I'll be financing 120 grand. And now I'm going to use 7.5% as my interest rate. Okay. Now, why do we just do this, right? Again, why are we doing this? If you follow the 10-year treasury yield, right, and you understand how the 30-year mortgage interest rates work, guess what? The 30-year mortgage interest rate is affected particularly by the 10-year treasury yield. Okay. And it's affected by two factors. Generally, it's the interest rate of 10-year yield, which you can see is 4.575 here. But it also depends on the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage rate. Historically, that spread has been about 1.5 to 2%, but it's gone as high as 3%. So as you can see, even though the interest rate has jumped almost a whole point since middle of September and October, you still don't see interest rates in the eights because that spread has narrowed. Okay. And that's what you need to figure out. So now, going forward, now that we have these properties in here, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to analyze this deal now that we know how all this stuff works as a 3-bedroom property. So you rent it as a 3-bedroom for $11.75 as a rent. You will cash flow $257 a month. That's a negative 6.1% return. Assuming you bought this property for 160 grand with 25% down, 7.5% interest rate, and a $65 rehab. And that's exercise you want to go through in practice. Now, let's say your goal was to get a 10% cash and cash return. Again, this is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. We're simply showing you what we're doing on an everyday basis to figure out whether or not this even makes sense for yourself, for your own personal circumstance, for your own portfolio, because only your investment professional will understand your strategy and your goals. Because some people might not even care about cash flow, right? Some people will say, hey, I don't care if I'm breaking even on my cash flow. If I'm buying a home that's $1 million and it goes up by 5% every single year, which is very, very risky because you're speculating, but those folks might make 50 grand a year in appreciation. And that's how you build wealth, right? So there's a lot of different strategies and reasons why you pursue a certain strategy, but you got to pick one that works for you. Okay. So now we have this thing where what if I change the asking price? Let's say I lower to $80,000. Boom. Now I'm at 6.9%. I might have to go to 70 grand to get to 10%. Wow. So I had to buy this home, assuming I kept it as a 3-bedroom. If I'm renting out for $11.75, I can cash flow $215 a month at a 10% return, but I would have to buy for 70 grand. That's why I told you this deal wasn't going to work, right? Does that mean that person's going to sell it to you for $90,000 less than they listed for? Probably not. But hey, at least now you know. But guess what? Let's go through 1%. If your interest rate dropped 1.5 points to 6%, see what happened to the cash and cash return number? Jump by 2.5%. So now you might be willing to afford $78,000 on this property because that can still get you the 10%. So if interest rates drop by a whole 1.5 points to 6%, assuming everything else stays constant, you can pay 78 grand for this property and still get a 10% return because you're still cash flowing $232 a month. Again, assuming you still rent out for $11.75. Right? So even let's assume that stays constant. What if your rehab doubled? So I'm gonna go to B6, I'm gonna multiply that by 2. And now my rehab is doubled. So now my cash and cash return went down because I have more cash investment out of my own pocket. So now I'm gonna have to go back down to, oops, 70 grand. So even though my interest rate dropped by 1.5 points, but all of a sudden I went to go look at the property and my rehab doubled, I still have to go back to 70 grand. See what happened there? And that's the exercise that you want to go through to take emotions out of the deal and stay consistent with updating the different levers, different inputs that helps you understand what is my goal here? Does that meet my criteria? And if not, move on because you have to be able to compensate yourself for the execution risk, right? What's execution risk? It's whether or not the contractor is going to show up and do what he or she said they were going to do, right? What if they open up the walls and blah, blah, blah? What if they find it? What if they say they get delayed for 2 months for some random reason? Right? All these things can matter. All right. We have a Section 8 inspection that had the wrong address, so we missed 2 inspections. These things matter. Your tenant can trash your home, and all of a sudden, your maintenance is a lot higher than 10%. All these factors matter. So you got to figure out whether or not it's worth your time and your effort for that risk. And that's only a decision that you can come to on your own because you got to talk to your own investment professionals. All right. Hope this is helpful, everybody. My goal is I hope you copy my homework. Start the new year right. Stay consistent with me. Analyze the same deal on Analyze Today using the same spreadsheet. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet, go to affordablehousing.io, not .com. Go to the Get Deal Analysis tool, put in your name, email, and phone number. That's the fastest way you get a copy of the spreadsheet. And I hope you start your own YouTube channel. Put this on your own YouTube channel because at some point someone's gonna ask you why you think this is a deal, and you can say, I think this is a deal because I've been looking at properties for the past 460 days. Might that give you some confidence? I certainly hope so. All right, I hope you all have an amazing day. I'll see you all tomorrow for 461. Stay consistent with me, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one, and Happy New Year.